Hi, and welcome to Tuesday Community Connections. Well, it's December, but we're still dealing with COVID. Whoever would have thought that this would have gone on this many months? And whoever would have imagined that after this many months, it doesn't seem to, at this point, be getting any better, but rather that it's worse now than it was even back in March or in the summertime. I mean, we've dealt with and we've lived with COVID, it seems forever. It's been a long time. And now things are worse than they were even before. Our numbers are higher and more people in the hospital and more cautions to stay home and stay safe and be careful about what you do. I think we're all weary of COVID, of what it's meant and the changes that we've had to make. And wouldn't it be nice if we can just say, you know what, I'm going to stop playing this game now. I'm going to go back to life as I want it. Life is normal. Life the way I knew it before. I mean, I think we've all been a bit overwhelmed with the changes and just weary of living this way. Can't blame us. It's been a long time. But the people that I've been thinking about most in the past weeks are medical people. I mean, for you and for me, there's all kinds of things that we can't do. I mean, Thanksgiving wasn't the way that any of us, I don't think, would like it to be. Christmas may be much the same. There are many gatherings, funerals, weddings, other celebrations that just can't happen because of COVID, or they can't happen in the way that we would prefer them. People are weary of traveling or cautious of traveling rather, and don't dare get together and know that it's best not to do that. And so it's affected our entire lives. But for medical people, it not only affects their lives like it does ours, but when they go to work, they don't get away from COVID. I mean, when they go to work, they dive into the middle of what COVID is all about. I've thought about that. I mean, in my job, it's changed a whole lot because of COVID. We can't do much of anything the way we normally do, and for the most part, it means that there's more steps and a little bit more work, and sometimes a whole lot more work to do to keep ministry going because we can't do anything in the normal way. And so it takes more time, and it takes more energy, and you have to be more creative and think in different ways in order to get things done that used to be pretty routine, and although it might be a bit of work, it was easy. We knew how to do it. Now we just have to figure out all these new ways of doing what we're doing. But for those who work in hospitals, for the medical people, they don't get to think about other kinds of things, new ways of doing things. They go right into the middle of what COVID is all about, an illness that we don't know everything about, that we know can be dangerous, that we know is very contagious. I mean, think about going to work knowing that you're going, risking your life. You're going into a place where you could get COVID. You're going into a place where the work is going to be demanding, and probably the demands overwhelming many times. They're overworked and the work isn't easy. The staffs are worn out and there aren't enough nurses or medical people to go around. We can build more places to have beds for people, but the staffing gets difficult. So what does that mean for medical staff? What kind of time do they get off, or do they get any time off? It's just made me think about them and pray for them and be concerned about them. And think about when they're at work, the people that they're relating to. I mean, anytime you work in a hospital, you're dealing, for the most part, unless you're working with newborns or mothers who are having babies, you're working with people who are sick. And sometimes it's fun in that work because you can help them get better and send them home much better. Sometimes that doesn't happen and people have a struggle getting better, or some just don't get better and they do die in the hospital. With COVID patients, that illness is not only difficult and challenging, and sometimes causes death much more often than we'd like to think. But the struggle simply to stay alive isn't very easy at all. And so when these medical workers go to work, I mean, I've had to or gotten to visit in nursing homes a few times, but what I had to do to go and visit is wear a mask and wear a shield, um, sanitize my hands. I don't know how many times. Stay away from the person, and with the shield and the mask, watching it fog up because it gets so warm. I'm not in these nursing homes for very long, and I'm just relieved when I can take that shield off and go outside and take off my mask. But think about the medical people. They're there for a whole shift dressed like that. And they're not just going in to visit somebody who is in the nursing home or in the hospital. They're going there to take care of them. They need to touch them. They need to be close to them. People who have COVID, people who could spread it to them. So they're putting themselves and even their families at risk to care for those who are sick. But then when our hospitals are so full, and so most of the patients that a nurse might have or a doctor might have or any kind of therapist might have are COVID patients, heavy kinds of things to deal with, work that's not easy and work that can be just draining because you learn to care for those people that you're taking care of, and how often do you see them struggling or even getting worse? And then in these days, these medical people also have to be family often to the patients. I mean, we can't have even family members visiting in the hospital just because of the threat and the care of passing COVID on. And so families can't come in. So it's the medical people that try to be the family, to be there and to soothe them, or to be there and to listen, to be there and to hold their hands. How many of them have been the one that's in the room when a patient dies? They've got to represent the family or help them and remind them that their family is there and caring for them, or relay messages to family for them. It cannot be easy work, and so they've been on my mind at how committed and how dedicated these medical people are to do the work that they're doing, to care for these people who are very, very sick, to extend their work to be family and friend to some of those who are up there and can't have anyone around them, including their family. So what it's made me think is, our call, your call and my call as Christians in these days is to be the hands and the feet of God to these medical people, to care for them and to be God's presence to them. And I think there are ways we can do that. I think when you know somebody or see somebody who works in a hospital, a nurse or a doctor or a therapist, thank them for their work. Tell them that you recognize how much effort and how much commitment they put into their jobs so that people can live and be comfortable, and so that family members can know that their loved ones are cared for. Ask them how they are. Ask them how their day is going. Not just how are you doing, but ask them, how is it going? Let them know that that they are putting in an incredible amount of time and energy into the work that they're doing, and that it can't be easy, but that you're thinking of them. Maybe you send them a card. Maybe you think of your own way that you can let them know that you care about them and that they matter, and that the work that they do is really important work for all of us, for our community, as well as our family and our friends. Another thing that you and I can do is to pray for them, to pray that God would protect them, to pray that they would find hope and strength for each day, to pray that they would know best what to do to help the patients that they're working with, to pray that God would show them hope each day, to pray that God would give them peace as they go home each night, to pray that they would have the rest that they need and time with their families and time just to do other things and forget about being in the hospital. So pray for them. Keep them in your prayers. Surround them with your prayers, and let them know that God's love is where they are. And finally, I think another thing, an important thing that we can do is to stay home as often as you can, and to not gather with people that are in big numbers, and to wear a mask when you go out. I mean, those are challenges in some ways. Wearing a mask really isn't all that hard, but when medical people are saying, please wear a mask, we're affecting their work and their days and how long this goes on. And so even if you don't see the need for wearing a mask, think of them. Wear it for them. Be careful so that we don't overrun our medical facilities, so that when we have things like heart attacks or we need surgery or we've got other things wrong and we just need to be at the hospital, that we have medical personnel who are there to help us as well, and that they're not overwhelmed with COVID patients, and that they're not so worn out and weary that they have a difficult time just struggling through to help us and get us better as well. So be God's hands and feet. Think about, pray about, thank, and care for the medical people that care for us and for our community. So God bless you as you are God's hands and feet in the world, and as you and I can make a difference and hopefully bring some cheer and bring some hope and bring some joy to the heart of those who care for us. God bless you this week.